Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and connoisseurs of the written word. Today, we will discuss a rather intriguing word. Okay, let us first write it out so that you can actually um, have a look at it and see how strange and peculiar a word it is. Okay, the word is P A N D A T I O N. Pandation. Okay, Pandation. Okay, now this word is a noun and its meaning is very straightforward. It means warping, Warping. Okay, whenever something gets warped or whenever something gets distorted, you can use this word pandation. Okay, it's a rather ancient, even an archaic word, but given its intriguing nature, we will discuss how we can use it in several different settings. We can use it both in a very literal sense, and also a figurative sense. Okay, uh, let us use it in a literal sense first. Now, we know in physics that up until say the 17th century, people thought that the foundations of physics were rather solid. Everything was very systematized, very organized, especially after Sir Isaac Newton wrote his Principia Mathematica. People thought that pretty much everything that needed to be discovered in physics had been discovered. I mean, the confidence was so great that by the end of the 18th century, towards the 1890s and so on, smart students were advised not to go into physics for the simple reason that it was felt that all the great discoveries had already been made, that there was nothing much else to do, just tie up a few loose ends, and physics was a complete subject. I mean, that was the level of confidence scientists had in physics towards the closing decades of the 19th century. Okay, and Newtonian physics, okay, which is what it is called, is really a really beautiful edifice. It's a lovely structure. There's nothing ambiguous about it. It's very categorical. Its equations are perfect and very rectilinear, very organized, very systematic. Everything was very fixed. The foundations were solid and fixed. Then, once we come into the 20th century, to the time of Albert Einstein and his quantum mechanical friends, or rather his quantum mechanical colleagues, the situation had changed dramatically. It was finally found that the foundations of physics was not solid, it was not fixed, it was in fact very fluid. In fact, it was so fluid, it was almost fragile. People are no longer certain about anything. That's one of the peculiar features about quantum mechanics. It is based on probabilities. It's not based on certainties the way Newtonian physics was. So, given this fact, and the additional fact that general relativity, the other great giant in 20th century physics, that general relativity was also not a fixed structure. I mean, it showed general relativity basically shows that space time is not a concrete entity, that space time is rather fluid. It can be bent, it can be warped, warped, warped. Okay? So now that I've given you the historical background, the historical scientific background, we can now use the word pandation. Okay? It was only after Albert Einstein came up with his equations in the tensor calculus that it was finally discovered that space-time was not a fixed concrete structure, but that it could be bent and warped. Okay, this peculiar predilection of space-time to undergo pandation was never suspected during the time of Sir Isaac Newton. Sir Isaac Newton felt that space was a fixed entity, that time was a fixed entity, and that there was no such thing as a combined structure called space-time. Okay, so that is a great thing about Albert Einstein. Not only did he show uh, the space and time were not fixed entities, but rather were fluid entities, he actually showed that the two could be amalgamated into a combined structure called space-time. That was his first achievement. People don't realize that. His first achievement was actually amalgamating space-time into a unitary structure called space-time, and then showing that this unitary structure called space-time was also not fixed. The way its constituent structures, space and time, were thought to be. That space-time too was a rather fragile, feeble, and flexible structure, a fluid structure that could be bent, distorted, and warped. Or that space-time could undergo pandation. Okay, so uh, space-time has this peculiar proclivity towards pandation under certain conditions, especially when it is in the proximity of a large planetary body or a large stellar body. Space-time is no longer uniform but undergoes pandation. Okay, so we are using this word pandation to refer to warping. So that is one literal and direct use of the word pandation. Now let us look at a way it could be used figuratively. Okay. Now we've all met people who are rather strange and unusual, and if you look into their sorry, okay, and if you look into their background, if you'll excuse me for a minute, okay, I think I got it back. And if you look into their background, you frequently find that they develop these peculiarities after living alone. You could say his personality underwent a pandation as a result of living alone for a very long time. Okay, so we've used the word now in a slightly semi-metaphorical sense. It can also be a literal sense, but also in a semi-metaphorical sense. Nothing is being physically bent there, but his mind was bent, and we've all met people who have undergone this metamorphosis as a result of living alone for far too long. Okay, now let's come back to another third use of the word pandation. Okay, we know, for instance, that plywood, particularly when it is in hot, humid air, it undergoes warping. Okay, that's a known fact. So you could then say the peculiar tendency of plywood to undergo pandation when in the vicinity of the seashore, when present in hot, humid air, has been known for a long time. Okay, so now we have used once again the word pandation in a literal sense. So I gave you two direct usages of this word pandation, and also one semi-metaphorical use of the word pandation. It's a nice word, pandation, especially when you can combine it, in a alliterative way with words like peculiar and words like, excuse me once again, I'm trying to get this cell phone from not falling off the tripod. Okay. Um, Especially since this word can be used in a metaphorical sense as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have a brand new word here, pandation. Pandation. All right. So okay, I think I've gone on long enough. I'll stop here for now, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.